I'm doing these presentations, it's been around fundraising, which is obviously an integral part of what Connected do. But today, this kind of discussion is in principle about sales and marketing, commercialization, monetization within the early stage. Sales can be, I think, a dirty word sometimes. So we wanted to just have a safe place to discuss it openly. Just a little bit about my background. So I've been working kind of in sales environments for the last 15 years, principally you start at FTSE 100 organization, worked in the UK, then based out of the US, building a team in North America, went into South America and did that for 8 or 9 years. And then jumped into the startup world with kind of an ag tech business based out of Switzerland, and found out that how much harder it is to do this with an early stage business than a big corporate. Since then, tried to scale that kind of Swiss business to £1 million ARR, didn't quite get there. Been a board advisor at a business kind of starting from scratch, 0 revenue, got that to 6 figures, and latterly, and now I'm at Connected, joined kind of 5 figures ARR, and now we've managed to get through the 1 million ARR sort of mark. And so really, this presentation will touch on 3 different stages. I try and keep it as broad as possible. Obviously, it's very difficult to apply this generally to every business or business model that might be on this call. But I'll try and speak kind of broadly about how important that I think it is to have a commercially led organization, and kind of how to do that and the benefits overall to the business. So yeah, just a bit of a precursor here. My experience is in SaaS, predominantly subscription as a service businesses. Again, so predominantly when I'm talking here, it would be that kind of experience and business model that I'm talking about, to the 3 stages that we're going to concentrate and focus on today. So firstly, what is building a commercial kind of first business? Well, I think I would class Connected as kind of the first really commercial first business that I've worked for. And when I say that, I'm a huge advocate of businesses being product led. And obviously all businesses should be product led. Throughout my last 2 years working with Connected, I'm yet to speak to many founders that are not product obsessed. You know, naturally that seems to be where a lot of the deviation and obsession goes. But with an awful lot of the founders that I speak to, it feels at times that commercialization, monetization, revenue, sales is very much an afterthought, perhaps not something that those founders may be comfortable with in some capacities. And I think that can have or can majorly hamstring the progress of a business. And so here, hopefully I'll lay some principles to how you can kind of put the commercialization of your startup at the forefront of your strategy, and actually how that can bring many tangible benefits to the business, including, you know, helping with fundraising, helping to develop the right product more quickly, and buying, you know, more time to fully develop that roadmap, which is naturally a hardship, I think, of any startup founder. So pre-MVP, I think, is the most difficult stage. You know, if you don't have something to sell yet, whether this is a subscription business or something more tangible, I think it can be uncomfortable at times in terms of how you approach those kind of client-facing discussions. But it's really, really important, I think, that everyone is kind of focused as much as humanly possible still at this point to be client-facing. And within that, what do I mean, everyone client-facing? Well, I think as a founder, it is a principal job of any founder to be a salesperson. That is uncomfortable for a lot of founders, but you will be leading fundraising rounds or, you know, doing that yourself, which is arguably the hardest sales job of them all, but you're also probably the person that would bring in your first, second, third, fourth, fifth customers in most instances. And I think as a founder, or anyone, whether they're full-time or part-time involved in the business, should be as client facing or as prospect facing as they possibly can at this point. And to what end? When we talk about sales, well, then I think that there should be tangible metrics at all times in terms of what are you trying to achieve out of these conversations. And firstly, for me, things like, and I speak to a lot of founders about this, but building waiting lists, getting buy-in to be on marketing lists, building pipelines, having people to agree to go on trial once a project is launched, letters of intent. I can't remember if I've already mentioned that. But these should be the things that we're aiming to get out of these discussions. Again, everyone talks about product market fit, but until you have your shiny thing, whatever that kind of MVP is, obviously there's no way really that you can convince people of product market fit. But you can achieve, something that I would call conceptual market fit, which is proving the challenge that is out there and proving in principle the solution that you're providing to the marketplace can solve. At this point, I think be comfortable with a scattergun approach. It's not the way that I would advocate marketing for any business in general. But I think at this point, the key is having as many possible discussions with as many potential prospects as possible, whether they might be, a core market audience right now, or someone that perhaps is more on the periphery, or at least that you think of your audience. And the reason that I say that is, I think it's true of all of the businesses that I've worked in or products that have been launched, is that you don't know the best use case for your product at this time before it's been built. And probably 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, there will be pivots, tweaks, and all of this sorts of stuff that will happen. And by speaking to those people that are more on the periphery, you're going to be able to build that product more quickly and more efficiently, ultimately. And so dual purpose here, prospecting should help product, and everything that I should talk about here should be about product and sales, or product and the commercial department working hand in hand. Is that with more discussions that you're having here, all of this feedback should be built in, should be recorded, should be layered in to the product team to help to refine that process, even from very early stages, before it's built, before it's been trialed, to make things much more effective. And record all of these conversations. There's no point going out there having hundreds of conversations with prospects without creating that pipeline of who you're actually going to sell it to first, of where this is landing best, of where it's not landing at all, of who did agree to come on the wait list and who didn't. And lastly, at this stage, and this is kind of the pragmatic approach, if you can sell it, then sell it. And if we can get pre-subscriptions or pre-orders, if it's a real thing kind of a business, if you can sell it, then sell it. It's extremely compelling, I think, when you're speaking to other stakeholders, whether they're potential employees, potential partners, potential investors, if at a very early stage you've got even the smallest amount of revenue in from prospective customers. A little bit on marketing here. So I've spoken about scattergun approach. To me here, what we're trying to do is to build a reliable way to contact potential customers en masse. This is really difficult to do because you're not, particularly if you're bootstrapped, you're not going to have a really large budget at this time. And so you'll have to be creative in the way that you're able to contact and to outreach into that market. And, so some free events, some groups, social media, any way that you can network and get your message out there. It's going to cost you a lot of time, and you're going to have to invest a lot of time into this. But if you do it right, you don't necessarily have to invest a lot of money. But there will be attritional tasks that, that you'll have to do to get out there, to speak to these people, to be the main client facing person. But again, I think that pays off in spades if you do it in the right way. And so what do you do with all of these conversations? Well, firstly, I just jot to point 3 here is try and get tangible and money answers out of people. Here you really want to build the tangible story of not, this is my business, this is the idea, this is what I think we can solve and we can do. But actually to start getting words from other people that are not your own, that back up, the dream, the business idea, the MVP that you're building. How do these prospects pay to fix these problems now? What are they addressing to do them? How long does it take them to complete that task? How are they currently addressing them? Why are they going to switch to your product compared to other products? And so, if you can start building this, you're building the story from the market, as to why your solution will work. And so that, the conversation, the qualification, the value build in this instance is all about understanding your customers' needs better, and actually where your solution can fit in. So it should be very much focused on the prospect, the potential customer, rather than what all kind of bad salespeople do, and I do it a lot myself, which is, this is me, this is us, this is what we can do to help, rather than who are you, what are you doing, how can I help? And so with all of those conversations, spoken about kind of recording them. And so again, if we assume, and again, here I've put kind of 1,000+ pitches in here, is, that should be the aspiration, is to be having that amount of conversations with potential customers. And that's when you really start to understand exactly the needs of the marketplace. But, essentially what we're doing is cropping kind of probably the best 5% of those conversations, even the best 1%, to be honest, and trying to cancel out the bottom 20%. So with the best conversations that you're having, that's where we're asking for case studies. That's where we're asking for letters of intent, of pre-commitment, of, if this business can do that, then, this is a problem that might be worth X for me, and actually this is why, this is where it fits in to my organization, and to start building those trust signals, to build that story, before you've even launched your product. And that's the approach to take with the top end, the very best conversations that you're having. Whilst similarly at the bottom end, then you're looking to trim your audience of, well, actually, where did that not land? Who are the people that didn't convert to the wait list? Who have we got absolutely no chance of selling to, at least for the medium term? So just cutting down that kind of scattergun approach and removing, those people from your funnel. And I'll speak a lot about this, but it's kind of building the kind of the data side, the science of your sales and marketing model, and hopefully at the end, when you're scaling, I'll done a little bit about how you get to that point, and also building the story. So the story is, or the data side is, well, how many people are there in that wait list, in that pipeline? This is linked to your TAM, this is linked to your SOM, this is more proof that actually out of this market, these amount of people will really be customers, because I've spoken to them, because they've committed, because they're on the wait list, because they've already signed up to receive our marketing materials, and this is how much it means to those people. And so you can really start to get some very hard data, even if that is not revenue in terms of pounds that are on the bottom line. And the science side, the science side is the pitch. So if any of you guys know Roy, that's the founder of Connected, he'll compare this to doing stand-up comedy, and it's that idea of, well, what does land with your audience? What are the right questions? Where exactly does this fit, and what exactly does that pitch and the story look like? And that's really, really important, because people buy, and when I'm talking about, people buy feelings, people buy emotively, and that will apply to subscriptions, to things, to investments that they make. And we hear here at Connected that 95% of the time, if you're looking at early stage businesses, well, the number one reasons that investors invest is because they believe in the founders and the people that are behind those businesses. So product market fit at this stage is just a dream. It's it's just something that we can't prove, but we can still do a lot to suggest conceptually that there is that fit. So conceptual market fit is what I'm talking about here. And that is the proof of saying, well, actually within the TAM and the SOM, which every single founder has, barely any of them has, what is, here's how much that I've spoken to, here's exactly how that's resonated, here's how big the problem is. So from, the small part of the market that I've spoken to, this is something much more real. And actually, if you can start doing that from an early stage, again, if you're having investment discussions or even just waiting for the MVP to be built and to sell that, well, then you're building up your pipeline. You know where your best buyers are. You know how much you can charge them if you get it right. You know what it might take, in order to finagle that deal to get it over the line. Cool. So MVP. So now we have this kind of shiny new thing, and sort of what do you do with it at this stage? Well, the CTO at Connected will say just ship it. And for anyone that doesn't know kind of that product term, it's the idea that perfection is kind of the enemy of innovation, and actually not conducive to getting something out to market and seeing where it works and where it doesn't work, and tweaking it as you go and improving it. And actually, that approach of just shipping it will lead to a far better product than trying to protect it, to try and hide the fallacies, the insecurities, the vulnerabilities of the product. And actually by just shipping it, you improve the product over time. Well, that same principle to me applies in sales. Just ship it, just sell it. And so, as soon as you have that thing, try and get out there to market and kind of convert these into customers. And if we're talking pre-MVP about the idea of a wait list of letters of intent, of kind of tangible metrics that you can build on this side, well, the number one metric to me that we're looking for at this stage is just purely amount of customers, and not AOV, AOR, ARR, or anything else, but purely the volume of customers. And if you are a SaaS business, for instance, well, 10 customers paying £1,000 per year for your product is worth way more than one customer that's paying £10,000 for your product. And again, that comes back to the harmonious nature of it. The more customers that you have, the quicker that feedback loop will be into product. The more you're going to realize, well, actually, where does this work really well? Where doesn't it work really well? Commercially, you will lose some of these customers as well if it is on a subscription basis, because there are going to be vulnerabilities with the product. But the more customers that you have, the more likely you are to retain some, to figure out exactly where those retention metrics are and be able to improve them. So number of customers for me is the most important thing. So I just wanted again to come back at this point, is that you, the founder, the leading people in this organization, can't help or get away from, I think in most instances, unless you're extremely well backed and have many other people doing this for you right from the start, is people are still buying into yourself, the idea, the concept, the dream, the direction. And I put here a healthy amount of self-delusion is key. I don't have to tell anyone on this call just how bloody difficult it is to go through this process. And I'm saying that as someone that hasn't been a founder, but instead has been an early employee, at several different organizations. And it's pressure and stressful enough for me, let alone being a founder. But the temptation is, and the reason I mention it here is, well, now you have this shiny new thing, is actually you revert even harder to check out my thing, check out my product, check out, this, because you've worked so bloody hard to build it. You want to go and shove it in as many faces as you possibly can. But it's still the same things that you were speaking about in the pre-MVP, where this business is going, conceptually what it can solve and how it fits into your customer's life. So as much as it's a natural temptation and you will inevitably find yourself doing that, still try and focus on customer first conversations, and you'll be much more effective in this side. At this stage, we can really build a sales process. We are looking to get revenue through the door. And how do you do that? Well, I would back work it, whatever kind of business that you're in is, well, imagine a customer making that buying decision, even if that's never been made before at your own business. Well, what do they need to do in order to be comfortable to make that purchasing decision? Do they need to see something? Do they need to have specific problems? What are those problems? How are they solving them currently? Again, engage your mindset to be truly involved in what that customer's doing. Backwork your sales process to make someone feel very comfortable with those challenges, with those problems that people can build. At this point, we should double down on building trust signals. You're still very early stage. You're still going to have all sorts of vulnerabilities within the business, but hopefully with some of the customers that you are getting on board, you're going to be able to build case studies, testimonials, and actually turn the letters of intent, all of those people that were doing that sort of thing into, yes, I now use this product. This has helped me to do X or Y. And try and focus and be as specific as you can on, single-hearted problems, and don't try and bite off everything that your product could potentially do. Of being a one-stop shop, what is the one reason that people are going to buy this the most, and prove that out. Do that one at a time, and then the business gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And here, compromise commercial offering in order to get clients through the door. So, at this stage, I would, only stop short of something that is going to be devastating for the business in the medium and long term, or not get yourself into long contracts with, people that are going to be key accounts to this business moving forward. But otherwise, everything that you can do to get users and paying users ideally for your product, compromise everything in order to do that. We need the volume of these people to prove that it could work in the future, to have the revenue, to buy us time for the runway, to have the feedback of paying customers. Paying customers are going to be a lot more discerning from those people on the trial, so they're best people to learn from in terms of understanding where that product can go. So yeah, I said kind of compromise everything in terms of your commercial offering, and these are all things that I think you shouldn't be worried about at this stage if possible. I know if you're a bootstrapped business, then maybe it might be more difficult to kind of compromise on these facets, but try not to worry as much as you can about the likes of average order value, of lifetime value, of number of users, price, scalability. There is a large element of pragmatism here that is needed at this stage. And so here, no more hypotheticals, and at pre-MVP stage, we're trying to say, well, here are people that are on a waiting list, and here are letters of intent. Here's all of the people that might be interested. Where we want to be as quickly as possible once we have the MVP is, well, actually, here are my 10 customers, my 100 customers, my 1,000 customers that are all paying this for it already. And actually, that really does start to suggest product market fit. Scaling revenue. So, okay, now you're at this stage. Well, what happens now? I guess just to stop on this. So, this is probably the time where the business starts to become the business that you thought it might be in your head. And so what I mean by that is previously, it's, typically for founders that I speak to, it's all about product. But for me, it should be, until this stage, it's all about product and commercialization. And those two things should go hand in hand. Now, at this point, when you are scaling, that you do have a good idea of who the audience is, you have people buying the product, and actually you're trying to grow the business, you can start trying to unwind, yourselves as founders, of anyone else that is involved in the business, from commercial responsibility as sales or marketing or whatever that might mean for you. And you'll start to see the early emergence or formation of other departments, in the business, and that will start to escalate here. Really at this stage now, I think we are very much, we should have by, and this should be the stage where you're pushing through that kind of 1 million ARR mark, or whatever that might be. And I know I take that with a pinch of salt, because those milestones are very different for every business that's probably on this call. But the sales and marketing model should be proved by the end of this approach. And so, I know that if I speak to X many customers, that this amount of customers will buy, and the order value for my product will be X. And we should be able to kind of look and chop that up by all of the different marketing channels that we look at, by any reps or salespeople that we have in the organization, and really be able to effectively learn from that to make it more effective, which is an ongoing process, which is something that you're never going to get right. But B, really have confidence to, even discerning investors to say, well, look, this is something that we know that works. We know how to get to our customers. We know how to speak to them and to engage with them in order to provide them with the solution that we're offering. And, I would say, as soon as possible, that if you do have the capacity to bring people in, or you are a founder that is from a commercial background, that absolutely at this stage you should have someone that is relatively senior within sales or marketing, or ideally both, that will be able to help to build and refine this model. And the earlier you can get that person in, once you have started to prove that this is going to work, then that person should pay themselves off tenfold over time. And I've got here, just tweak the art little and often to optimize the science. So many of the biggest mistakes that I've made is trying to change too much too fast. And so try to stick to what works, whatever performance that's guaranteeing, whether that's something within the pitch or the way that you outreach to your customers, or something that you're demonstrating as a value build, or something with the sales process. Try and tweak it as you go. Otherwise, you may have disastrous effects. And I know I'm coming up to half an hour. I try and keep this to half an hour and then do questions. So, this is really where, all of those kind of principles that were crossed off previously return, and where we start to really consider, well, how do we drive up average order value? How do we improve the lifetime value of our customers, the profitability of our business, the scalability of the solutions that we provide, the exposure of our solution to all of the businesses here. And we do that by, again, doubling down on the case studies and testimonials, by standardizing that kind of professionalized sales and marketing approach, and really having confidence in the delivery and execution, that this isn't something that you're making up anymore. It's something that works, and that you've seen it kind of work and operate in the marketplace. So that's it. I think pretty much on kind of the half an hour here. Any questions or chats? Thanks.
Thanks, James. That was fantastic. Let's have a look. Nadia.
Yes, always me. Thanks. That was really, really interesting. I've done sales for many years, and I think I've done consultancy for startups as well. And one of the biggest challenges I often see with startups is that the founders are not salespeople. They employ a salesperson, go sell, no strategy, no pipeline, no account management, no management of what they're selling. And then after a year they bring someone in, and it's a bit all of a mess. There's no CRM. So I completely understand what you're saying. And it was a great presentation. I think I've been in sales a long time, and when I started my business, I thought, well, I know I can sell. Here I go. I found that the biggest challenge was that I was trying so hard to sell the idea rather than monetize it. I spent a lot of time going around going, this is a great idea. And when people say, yeah, I'd be like, okay, then take it, without like really looking into how to better monetize it. Do you have any advice for how the first steps should be?
I think this is a really good question. And I think, I feel like for someone that's been in sales a long time, if someone asks me, if I go into an interview and I'm starting to sell myself, there's that awkward feeling, right? Of, well, actually now this is about me. Now this is my business. You don't have that confidence that you might have if you're trying to sell someone else's thing. And I think that's totally natural. Everyone would be in that position. But, again, I think instead of, well, here's the idea, here's the concept, have it or not. Again, I would encourage monetize it, even if it's £1 or £10 or £100 for the product, is you can still heavily incentivize people to make those first steps. I think as you become more confident in, yeah, that did work. Actually, that person did, but they were happy and this worked for them and that worked well. And actually the feedback that you're going to get from those people, even if you've monetized it at a level that's absolutely not profitable, that you don't want to do, you know, in future, I think you can start then taking those baby steps where in the end you'll feel much more comfortable in the end.
Thank you.